Hello and welcome to They Don't Teach This in Law School. I'm your host, Charlie Mann of the law firm Alchemy, and my guest today, aside from one of his top qualities being the fact that he's from the Hampton Roads area, which I hail from as well, he's just a really, it's interesting. So I encounter a lot of people who are in the digital marketing space, right? And there's just different types of people who run agencies. You have those who are high-level technicians who seem afraid to actually meet you. Then you have the people who are simply chummy salespeople. And then you have those folks who seem to combine both of those, a deep interest in SEO, digital strategy, paid ads, et cetera, but also you're like, I could just talk to this person for a couple of hours and maybe we're going to talk shop, maybe we're not, but I know I'm going to come out the other side of it having enjoyed myself. And so that's the guest I have today. I'm really looking forward to talking with him. He is the co-founder of Array Digital, the host of the Managing Partners podcast. Kevin Daisey, welcome to the show.
I appreciate that. I thought for a minute you were talking about someone else that was maybe coming on the show.
So we're starting with the self-deprecating humor right off the top. See, we know how this is going to go.
Oh, man. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate it, Charlie. And it's been awesome to watch you and get to know you. And surprised I didn't know you sooner, to be honest.
I know,
with you, so.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. But here we are today. So, Kevin, answer ye age-old question. What's the one thing they don't teach you in law school?
One thing? Oh, man. There's
Just
so
one.
many things. There's so many things. If I could put it in one category, what would it be? They don't teach you taxes or P&Ls or how to hire, fire process or all those things, leadership and business. They don't teach you business. Is that right?
That's right. They don't teach you a lot of stuff. But for you, like if there's one thing, what's the one thing they just don't teach in law school?
How to run a business, how to do marketing, how to do sales, all those things that it takes to run a successful business. And
so let's talk sales, man. That's a big one that folks don't really zoom in on. I think many are terrified of, even though it is so incredibly powerful and important for any business, but especially for law firms, which live in a world where sales is such a dirty word. I'm curious, like your experience, Kevin, working with law firm owners, you guys are working on the side of driving leads, but at some point or another, they have to take over in the sales process. What do you see right now in the world of sales for law firms, and what's going well and what's not going well?
Yep. Great question. Yeah. So, just to start off that with marketing's not going to solve your problems necessarily. Right. And I think that's a lot of lawyers I've talked to. This is every day. Hey, this isn't working out. My agency's not doing enough, or, I'm not getting the leads that I want, and things are down and yada, yada, yada. And then you try to call that prospect back to kind of set up some time to meet, and you can't get a hold of them. No one answers the phone. And you're like, okay, you're starting to kind of see there's a lot more deeper problems here. And agencies can't just solve all those problems for a law firm. They should be somewhat responsible to make it known that, hey, your intake is terrible. The response times are not there. And we're not even at the sales game yet. We're talking about just the basics of getting the phone picked up, talking to someone with empathy, responding quickly, and getting them the information they need quickly is the first step right there, right? And so I just see a lot of issues there and blame to the agencies, which sometimes they deserve the blame, and sometimes the lawyer is just not in the right mindset, open-minded enough to work together and focus on the problem areas.
So I heard the word quickly pop up a few times there. Speed clearly is something that you want more law firms to prioritize. Two things there. What effect have you seen speed have, and how can we integrate speed into the process?
Yeah, and I mean, this is even with me, right? So if I get a lead right now while I'm talking to you, I'm hanging up this. No, it's good. It's funny. I'll get back to someone within an hour and feel like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe it took me that long to get to them. for some reason, and they're blown away that it didn't take 2 days or 3 days. Or if it's a Saturday, I get back to them and they're like, I didn't expect you to call me until like Monday or Tuesday if you called me back. So, but that's in the agency space. In the law firm space, depending on your law practice, it's urgent and it's today to get someone to say, hey, yeah, we can set up an appointment. We can talk to you. We can answer some of your questions. If not, they're going on to the next because they could be in a frantic situation, depending again on the practice you're in. So they don't have time, and there's no reason for them to be loyal to your brand that they just happen to come across potentially by doing some searches or asking a friend. And so they just have to move on. And so it's so much faster that you have to respond and get back to these folks. So now you have AI, you have chat bots, you have automation, you can outsource your phones. So there's no really excuses for not having something in place. And people just want to know that they've been responded to. Think about everyone's not judging you against the law firm they've hired in the past. Hopefully they've never hired a law firm in their situation. If not, they'd be going back to the same one. So they're putting you up against Uber and Domino's and Jimmy John's and instant access and gratification. And then they call a law firm and they're like, okay, this is not the experience I'm used to through my daily life. And you got to fix it.
Yeah. Improve it. Like you're going in, you mentioned some of the AI, you mentioned chatbots, things like that. The combination of manual fixes and digital fixes. Do you guys have, like, if Array Digital is bringing on a new law firm, it sounds like there's some level of potentially auditing that goes into examining existing processes. Do you have any standards that you expect essentially from your partners?
Yeah, this is something that we are actually working on more right now because my conversations like this, and then at the front end, seeing this firsthand, we traditionally had stayed out of like really diving into their intake and really diving into like their sales, conversion numbers and stuff like that. But fast forward to today, I mean, obviously with the website and digital marketing, ads, all those things, we're the front line basically. So is the website fast? Does it load quickly? And does it serve up the information needed for that client to convert? And I think that's a big thing. And I see this across the board. Usually not. So I want to start there. I know it's kind of earlier than in the conversation there, but think about you buying a car or anything. What information do you need to make a decision? So if you're going to hire a personal injury attorney, what information do you need to make a decision? And making sure that is upfront, and that's the only thing that client gets experience to, and then or exposure to. And then how are we going to collect their information, right? Phone call, lead, call, form. So making sure all those things are in place, working properly, and tested often, and that the delivery gets to our client, the law firm. Yeah. Hey, these phone calls came through. We saw they weren't answered in time. These chats came through. There's 3 missing responses. Did you get these forms? We got these forms that came through. Did they make it from your to your server to your email box? And how are we making sure that that's happening and everything is tested on a monthly basis to make sure there's no break, because that can break. And then double checks, like, I got smaller firms that are kind of like 1 lead or 2 is like make or break them when we're starting out. And so we set up text messages so the form will not just go to the email inbox, which we know how email inboxes can be. It'll text the lawyer, or it will text whoever is available. And so multiple methods. It can Slack message. So we can look at other ways to make that, basic form alert, the firm in other ways. And I think it's very individual to the firm. If it's a solo, it might be the attorney that's the only person that can take that call or take that question. So we just got to look at, what the firm makeup is and how they're going to respond best and adjust to that.
Okay, so in a dream world, you're working with a firm and they're knocking down the process. And let's imagine it's a firm that maybe they're doing 1.5. They've talked to you and they're saying, look, we're trying to get up to, say, that $3 million level. We want to double the size of this firm. You guys are generating leads. We're trying to dial in our process. And they say, we're going to do exactly what you tell us to do in terms of timing and follow up with leads. What's the prescription that you're giving to them?
Oh man, putting me on the
First
spot.
off, you're just like, I know you're salivating right now over the prospect of someone just being like, we're going to do exactly what you say, Kevin. We're going to listen.
Man, that's not going to happen. Okay. Yeah, we have those prospects. I have those clients.
Yeah.
So yeah, so ideally, yeah, we're going to look at everything they're currently doing, all the leads that they're intaking, and I want to know their numbers. So first off, if they're probably not in a group like Charlie's or other ones that are out there, in the beginning when I interviewed them, working with a law firm is an interview with them. They want to interview me, and that's cool. And I'll get to that part, but it's first about them. And so, what are your numbers? What's your leads? Where are the sources coming from? What's your case values? What's your close rate? And if they don't know any of that information, typically they don't at $1 million in revenue or so. We try to help them understand that they need to get that, because right now they're not working from data that they can use to grow.
Yeah.
And so how do you know how many calls you're missing? How do you know where the balls are being dropped? How do you know how to optimize that? So first, I think kind of getting a sense for, are they a sophisticated $1 million firm? Because I know them. Or are they a running around like crazy $1 million firm? There's plenty more of those.
Yep.
So I think it's first kind of establishing where are they in their business, sophistication level, right? And are they a lawyer or are they a business owner? And had they made that decision yet, right? Because this will make the next questions, and if they say I'll do anything you tell me to, it's still a big difference with those two type of people. Okay, so if they're like, I'm in business mode, I'm learning how I'm learning how to do the business, and I'm listening to folks, or I'm in Charlie's group, then it's going to be a lot easier to say, okay, you're going to listen to what we're going to tell you to do.
Yeah.
From there, we want to set up all those measures. Is the phone being answered 24 hours a day? Does your Google business profile say you're available 24/7? That'll make a difference if you show up or not at different times of the day. If they don't have staff. Either that, they got to bring on someone. I would say bring on a call center service and someone on the front desk. Are they willing to invest in that, and are they able to invest in those things? Next thing would be is a CRM. So you might have like Clio, or you might have these other things for clients.
Case management systems.
Yeah. What about before they're a client? You have all these leads coming in. How are you tracking that? How are you following up with that? Who's following up with those people? Do we have drip campaigns, outreach, text messages? Is someone responsible to follow up on the leads that just ghost you because they sent them on a form and then they just never wanted to talk to anybody for some reason?
Yeah.
And then are you doing 7 to 12 touches with every single one of those leads that you already paid for, by the way? You paid for the click, you paid for the organic, whatever.
Yep.
And then you just let them fade off into the distance, and they might forgot about you and go contact another firm in a week from now. So I would say start there. Mindset, do they know the numbers so they can actually implement these things and have some data to support the outcome of it?
Yeah, it's interesting, that whole like mindset component that you mentioned. If someone's not clicking in with the idea of it, of embracing that entrepreneurial side, I mean, it is interesting. One of the earliest things that you said, Kevin, is like marketing is not the only solution. There's other things that have to go on here. But yes, marketing is obviously a very important part of it. If you don't have leads, that is like the lifeblood of a company. Then you have the intake process. I'm curious, do you ever encounter firms? I'm sure you do. This feels like a leading the witness question here a little bit. But do you encounter firms where they can market, like with your help, they can get better marketing done. Their intake is pretty good, but their cash flow sucks, perhaps on a PI practice because they're kicking cases for a long time. Like, do you ever get into the weeds with some firm owners about, well, you have business coming in, but you're essentially going to sink your ship because you're not getting these cases taken care of?
Oh, I don't see as much of that, but I can see. I've had obviously folks on my show on the podcast that talk about that, and then also I have some startup PI firms we've helped out, and they're just getting started. So obviously with the PI case, you could just be getting started, and this money's not going to be coming in potentially for quite a long time. So yeah, man, it's every time I talk to anyone, it's funny. Like, I don't talk about marketing. Like, if you came to me, you're like, "Hey, Kevin, I need marketing." Okay, cool. I don't even talk about it barely, and because it's business. It's not marketing. It's business. If you run a crappy business, we're not winning anyway. You're going to fail. At some point, you'll run out of money, or you're just going to burn out. So it's having the understanding of what. And I ask this in these questions, like, what's your average case, but what's the average time frame of closing these cases as well? Like, when are you collecting this money? What is your aging, right? For me, it's easy because we're on ACH and people bill us up. I bill up front. We get all our money all the time, on time. So it's hard for me to relate sometimes with contingency fees and things like that. But you want to look for other opportunities too within that and see, is the law firm doing other practice areas that bring in immediate income? Are they strictly PI? And that's going to be based on where they want to go. But sometimes they'll be like, yeah, I'm doing a little criminal work or family work over here while I'm growing my PI. And that's where I want to go. And then we'll create a strategy to make sure we're flowing cash, and we have a plan ultimately to get them where they want to go. But that's a smart way to do it. It's not what they maybe want to do every day, but it is what's going to keep them alive to be able to build up that more sustainable practice.
So in the marketing world, I mean, you guys are deep in the digital marketing, which includes SEO, et cetera. There's a lot of proclamations. I've seen them bubbling back to the surface where a bunch of folks, and I think it's because I want to say Neil Patel recently made some waves saying that like Google is not as dominant anymore, et cetera, et cetera. Are these predictions that people made, 4 or 5 years ago using the phrase that the SEO is dead, right? We've heard that phrase a few times now. Like, what's your perspective on that? You have a bunch of bluster going on. How can we help sort out some of the reality versus just the sensationalism?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, with AI, Chat GPT and Chat GPT search and things like that, Google's, the reality is Google's had to make adjustments, and people are turning to some of those other systems to search for things. And you got Bing, who has a pretty small percentage of search, but they do have some because older folks or people in corporate offices, they might have Bing installed, and that's all they can use. And so they have a little bit of the market, and it's wise to do all the things. So what I would say is Google is still number one, and trending far as people looking for a service-based business in their local area, which is law firms. Google is still winning the day as far as reviews, trustworthiness, and finding answers or finding a direct service with intent. I say intent, meaning divorce lawyer near me or in Virginia Beach, there's intent there. It's not much speculation. It's pretty much, hey, this is what I'm looking for. So if what we see, search volumes and leads and things like that from organic are very strong through Google Business Profile. But then Google switched to like AI overviews and more Chat GPT style results and answers, which has dropped traffic for a lot of people. But it hasn't dropped conversions because they're usually low level, higher funnel questions, and they still cite the resources like your website potentially or your LinkedIn. Like, I'm in a bunch of LinkedIn answers for like SEO for law firms. Um, so the playing field is definitely changing, and Google
Yeah.
should be concerned to make sure people don't start venturing off other places. For anyone listening, like we optimize for AI search, we optimize for organic search, and we do Bing and all those things. So we're not considering those places because we know where things are going. I think it'll be quite a while before there's a major shift off of Google's platform. But I think at the same time, I don't think it's out of the question that could happen.
So you say you're working towards optimizing for platforms like ChatGPT, in addition to Google, Bing, et cetera.
Yeah.
Strategically, how different do those models of optimization look?
The actual funny answer for the most part, and if I had Wyatt, he runs my SEO team. He's like, I don't practice this really anymore. I just know as much as I know. He could probably have a whole discussion about it, but it comes down that honestly, the frameworks of like AI or ChatGPT and these other ones, they're based off of the same principles pretty much that Google is. And as far as not backlinking, that's like a Google thing, but the content. Is it helpful content? Is it original and organic, just helpful in a way that it's relevant, it's new, and it's fresh, and it's unique. And if you're doing the right things with your content for Google, not trying to trick Google, not trying to overstuff with keywords, like you're actually putting out good content that shows you are an authoritative, have authority in your space, you have trustworthiness based on reviews and expertise and testimonials, like real stuff, then you're going to win at both games. We have our clients that will rank second or third in Google are number one in ChatGPT search. So they rank even better sometimes in the AI search platforms. And so we're just following that and learning as we go to figure out what's the best way to optimize for those platforms.
Google seems to be, or for a long time, has been trying to duplicate the idea of people would want to go to this website and see this information because it seems, by proxy of their algorithm, it seems to provide them an answer that is satisfactory. What I realize I haven't spent a lot of time on is looking at the purpose, like the root principles behind how ChatGPT or Perplexity or any of these other programs deliver their results. Do you think it's similar to that, or are there other motivating factors? Because you mentioned people who may not rank number one on Google could rank number one on AI. So look at it in, like, from a principle standpoint, what might be different on the AI side compared to normal search?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, they're obviously like Gemini, Google's Gemini, again with the AI overviews at the top.
Yeah.
Like it'll put together a whole thing, and it's pulling from 10 different websites. You know what I mean? And it's putting all that together based on citing these resources. And the higher you get into those resources, the more likely they'll continue over to your site potentially outside that review that's posted at the top. So AI is looking for like bite-sized, digestible type information, bullet list, not just walls of content and text, right? So if you can feed it just like anything, I mean, Google's looking for the same thing, that they know people want digestible, bite-sized, quick answers to their question. And that's kind of what a ChatGPT is kind of delivering to you. And so if you can do lists and breakdowns and section things out, then the AIs are like, oh, bam, here's all these things that we were looking for to answer this question. So if you have just walls and walls of text, which I see it a lot on sites, it's all just piled together, right? So you want to make it structured in a way that these systems can cite it easily, pull it from you, and you're going to be more likely to be pulled up. Again, it just happens to be that's what Google prefers anyway. And so again, what we've learned how to win at Google is just translating almost perfectly over to these AI platforms. So So I guess learn how to do SEO right, which a lot of people
Yeah.
don't. And you're going to
Yeah.
be in a pretty good spot, because if you're doing things the right way, just like in business or in life, if you're a good person doing good things the right way, it's going to pay off. And that's the secret to SEO, to be honest with you. That's it. There's no tricks.
Although a lot of people try and bandy about some tricks and myths and black hat, gray hat type practices. I'm curious for you, Kevin, are there any of these SEO myths or concepts that you just that particularly drive you up a wall or seem to do damage to people more than others?
Absolutely. For one, just a mass production of content and using AI to write your content at all. Just don't do it. And I'm for law firms specifically. You're unique. You're a lawyer. You know your area. You know your practice. You have a brand. You have a voice. You eliminate all those things out. You throw them all out the window when you have AI, or even someone just not experienced just banging out content for you. Like, we want someone to actually find that content and hopefully find it helpful and read it and go, wow, this firm, through their words, actually cares and knows what they're talking about. Let me go to the next step, right? And people just throw that out the window like, oh, it's just for Google. It's just for Google. No, it's for the clients on the other side. And guess what? Google rewards you for taking care of the client, which is their client, the user, searching and clicking to your website. So just a lot of content, not going to help you out. If it's the right content, it's going to help you out. So don't use AI. You can leverage it to get outlines and to give you a basis to write off of, but don't do it. A lot of people are doing it. Backlinks. More backlinks, better. No, not at all. Get one good one a month with a high DR on a relevant, newsworthy, or legal site. You're going to win the game at that even slow velocity over. Well, you get 100 backlinks a month. You do not want that. Google doesn't want that. It knows you're playing the system, and that's going to get you banned, or you're just not going to grow. Let's see. What's another one? The other one is just the amount of stuff I see on sites. Like, I guess it's not like really a black hat thing, but keyword stuffing. So that would be another one. Like, I just have to say personal injury attorney, Boston, Massachusetts, like over and over and everywhere, and every single heading and everything things called that. Like, Google knows what you're trying to tell them, and especially if you do things right and do schema markup and all those things, it's not usable and readable. And the person reading it's going to be like, man, they're just over and over again. It's just not. Again, it's a sales page, and you're trying to sell them on your services and that you're the right fit. And I just see an overuse of trying to get those keywords in there, and you got to focus on the client again. So,
it's interesting, the keyword stuff. I may remember back in the day when people would do, like white text on a white background and they just put it in there like 100 times. It's amazing how far we've come, and yet how little has overall changed if you just stayed down the middle and said, I'm going to write good stuff for people who are actually going to read things on my website.
Yeah.
You'd have such compounding interest on all of this. And so much of the other things have been distractions, whether it's, remember when like they said author tags were going to be the thing? Even Google creates some of the distractions that we go through, right? They're like, author tags are the way of the future. It's how you're going to build authority. 14 months later, we don't really care about author tags.
Yeah. And back to the point, it's like, I follow Charlie and a ton of people we know together on LinkedIn, and if all their posts were just AI posts and just crap, like, would I follow them or would I read it? No. Charlie's writing posts that he thinks people are going to find valuable and engage with, and he's going to respond and have that dialogue. You got to think about your website. If you just focus on what the client needs and put that on the page. I also see, like, these big headings with a photo, and then it just says personal injury, whatever. And you
Yep.
scroll down, and then it's like wall of text, and it's like, okay, why would I scroll down? Are you going to help me, and how can you do it?
Yep.
And it's just like, well, that's the keyword, and that's the title, and then here's the heading, and then wall of text because we have to have 2,000 words on the page. Like, what do they need? Like, are your reviews up at the top? Here's what makes us different. We have 24/7 support. Call here. Here's a picture of the attorney, a video of the attorney. Like, how do we bring them into like wanting to even talk to you, and that you can represent them?
Yeah.
Like, so there's so many conversion tactics that are lost, that are just not even there. Just like, let's get the attorney in front of them, hear them, see them. Like, they got to build that connection, because no one wants to call an attorney because they feel I'm going to take advantage of. Am I going to get billed? And maybe I don't have the things together I need.
Yeah.
And so we need to break those barriers as fast as possible. And that page, again, that blog or that practice share page needs to be an amazing piece of content that's going to help the person, whether they call you or not. But you want to make sure that they're strongly considering going to call you based on what they just seen.
Yeah.
So,
all right, Kevin, before I ask you the last question of the show, if people are interested in connecting with you, learning more about Array Digital, etc., where should they go?
oh, that's the final question, huh? Okay. All right. You can go to
That's the second to last question.
I'm on LinkedIn, of course. Kevin Daisey, Daisey, and that's my handle on every platform, actually. But connect with me there. I'm always on, and we'll message you and message you back, whatever. If not, you can go to arraydigital.com. That's ARRAY digital.com. That's my agency. You can see kind of what we offer and how we can help you out. And then, of course, check out the Managing Partners podcast, the second best podcast, maybe, for growing your law firm.
All right, Kevin, last question for you, but it is a three-parter, which is, what are you reading, watching, and listening to these days?
Ooh, okay. Buy Back Your Time.
Good choice.
Listening to that one right now. As far as reading, I'm actually rereading Traction, which is a great book.
Yep.
I've read it a few times. Every time I read it, I pick up something new that I haven't implemented in my business. I actually got a signed copy from Gino Wickham.
Nice.
Because I met him in person. And then watching, let's see. Watch stuff with my wife, in the evenings or on the weekends. So into Formula One, so watching the new Drive to Survive series, which is pretty cool. I really kind of apply that to like business and how extreme and hardcore some of that stuff is. And so it's actually motivating for me to watch some of that stuff versus just mindless TV. So
nice. I love their series, whether it's Drive to Survive or Full Swing for the golf side or whatever.
Yeah.
Breakpoint, Match Point, whatever it is they have for tennis. I love all those things, man. High caliber, high performance athletes competing is good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, again, as a business owner, like, I love outdoor sports and fishing and surfing and all that good stuff. But just watching that kind of stuff, again, for me, it's like a business motivation because, it's competitive. They're on the top of the game and they're in the zone. And I think that's helpful.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin, my man, I appreciate you talking shop on sales, on SEO, AI, the frontier that all the law firms are dealing with right now. It's an interesting future, and of course, as it often is the case, it appears that best way to play for the future is to borrow some of the stuff we've been doing for the past and still keep producing the good stuff for human beings, not just the robots. So thank you so much for your time and energy, Kevin.
Yes, sir. Hey, thanks for having me. And SEO is not dead. So,
and we'll see y'all in the next episode of They Don't Teach This in Law School.